Hi folks, I'm the Lost Mapper, and today is day 8 of the 30-day map challenge, and today's theme is Africa. So I'm going to start by heading to the Natural Earth website and clicking on Get Data, and I'm going to grab some cultural data, and I'm going to download countries. And my plan is to make a map of the Western countries of Africa and use some of the data there to try to display something interesting. So I'm going to take that countries folder that was downloaded and move it into my project folder. And then over in QGIS, I've got a project set up already. I'm going to add that layer. And let's zoom in on the portion that I'm interested in, which is this area. And I'm going to start off by making one layer that's just sort of bland and boring, and then we'll put another layer on top that has the actual data that we're interested in. So I'm going to make this a kind of grayish color, or literally a grayish color. Okay, cool. And then what I want to do is so let's name this, let's just name this countries. And then let's duplicate this. Duplicate that and rename it to West Africa. And I'm going to move the original countries one below it, make sure that Africa is enabled. Let's first filter our data. So let's open up the attribute table and take a look at it. There's a number of columns in here. Most of them seem to be names. The one that I'm looking for, somewhere in here, there's region and subregion. So region has Africa, and then subregion has the subregions of Africa. And I think I can get away with just filtering by subregion, where we want Western Africa. Maybe I'll also rename this layer to be Western Africa. And let's right click and open up a filter and find that. Kind of wish you could sort by field name in here or filter by field name. That would be handy. I think I passed it. All right, subregion, and let's get all of those and West Africa, and then we'll throw an equal sign in there and test it out. And I've got 17 rows. Cool. So let's change the color of that for now. Actually, let's jump right into doing this categorized. So I'm going to use a field called income group. There it is. And something I learned is even though you're using a classification of categories, you can still use a color ramp. So that's kind of neat that you can use that to inform the colors. So I'm going to choose spectral, and I'm going to click classify. And interestingly enough, this is a slightly different result than when I originally did this. But I think that's okay. I guess this is based on the filter. And if I hadn't filtered it, I would have gotten more entries. So let's click OK on that. Okay, and now those particular countries are highlighted. And let's get some labels for them. And we will use there's name, which I think is a shortened one, and then there's name long. So let's use name long. And there's a few of these that get kind of hard to see because they're in smaller portions. So what I'd like to do is use callouts. So let's draw our callouts. And this time the style I'd like to use is not simple lines, but balloons. And just to give you a quick idea what that looks like, it actually draws little boxes. And when you move the labels, let's give it our feature ID. What is the feature ID for this particular? So I'm not seeing any unique identifiers offhand for these countries. What I did notice, though, is that there is, in fact, a label X and a label Y in here somewhere. Yeah, so there's a label X and label Y. So what we can actually do is reuse those. Instead of relying on feature ID, we can just store the label positions in those columns. So I will double click on to open up labels, and then under placement, I'm going to scroll down to data defined coordinate, and I'm going to set X to a field, and that'll be label X, and I'm going to set Y to a field, and that would be label Y. And now I should be able to move them. Let me get back to my previous zoom and then switch to the label move tool. And yeah, okay, fantastic. So I can move these out so you can see what it's pointing to, and it fits. It's not covering up the actual country. This might not be the best way to do this, but really the goal here is to show you how to use these callouts. And let me move myself out of the way. All right. All right, I think that's all of them. And I'm actually going to go back into the Symbology. So let's open up the side. Nope, let's open up the side panel. And go into the label and open up callout. And if we go and change the corner radius, let's try 4. All right, that looks good. And then I think we need a little bit of a margin inside of the labels. There we go. So there's more spacing there. You might even be able, I think 1 will work for the bottom. Maybe even 1 for the right. Yeah, okay. That all looks good. And then another cool thing that you can do is right now the fill style is just a color, but we can go in and actually change the fill color to be the same as the color used in the Symbology. So I'm going to head to fill color and then click this little widget over here, the data defined override. I'm going to click edit. And then there's you can see right here, actually, there's an attribute called symbol color that you can use. And once I click OK on that, you can see that the labels are using the same color as the symbols. And I think I'd actually like to use a different gradient because that red is a little bit harsh. What we were originally, well, maybe I'll just change this and change the color to be lower middle. So how about this orange? Seems to be my color of the week. Apply that, and I'll close this panel. And now we've got both our labels and our shapes colored the same way. And let's then also make a print layout. Call this landscape. And move myself out of the way. Draw my map. Leave room for a title and a attribution. There we go. And again, it's a little bit differently aligned in the map layout than it is over here. So maybe I will adjust these so they're not so crowded in the print layout. Okay, I think that looks all right for now. And let's give it a title. Call this Western Africa Income Groups. Pull this up Font, I think I'm just going to bump up the size of this one and then center it. The other thing I would like to add is a legend showing what those colors mean. So let's draw a legend here. And I'm going to disable this unused one. So I'm going to uncheck auto update so that it doesn't change based on the layers that I have in my map. And I'll remove countries and remove this one and just give it a title of legend. Okay, and let's give the map a frame. And let's give the legend a frame as well. And so there's these numbers in here, 4 and 5 lower middle income and 5 low income. That is coming from the categorization in the attribute, or the values in the attribute. And what we can actually do is we switch back to the map and double click on our symbology and head to our symbology. We can see there's two columns here. One is the actual value, and then there's what to use in the legend. And you can actually double click on these and change what they say. So it's not altering the value, it's just altering the label and the legend associated with it. Hit OK on that. And if I go back to the map view, now I see those adjusted titles. And also this group is called Western Africa. Why don't we rename this to income groups? Income groups. And then back here, it's updated as well. And then finally, let's add an attribution. And we'll say the data came from Natural Earth. And I'm going to put that on the right and at the bottom. And there you go. So I would say give this a try. Maybe pick a different portion of Africa, perhaps pick a different column, a different grouping to color things by, and show me what you made. Leave me a comment, subscribe and like, all that jazz, and I'll see you tomorrow.